What's going on YouTube? Thanks for tuning into the channel. It's your boy Devin Coates. I'm coming to you with a book review. Once again, it's going to be different, but this is probably the format I'll do it just moving forward in the future. So this book right here is The Art of War and the War of Art by Steven Pressfield. So this book actually is written by an author that kind of comes from a different type of background than I'm used to listening to. I listened to it on audiobook. Will give you the first caveat. To me, music was super corny throughout the book, but the content was real. And the biggest part of the content was do your work, and that is the whole title of this video. So his whole book in the War of Art is just kind of the battle that an artist feels. And I feel like everybody's an artist. You know, as humans, we're very creative beings. That's something my favorite author, Robert Greene, hammers down a lot. I'll probably do the Law of Human Nature later, but I digress because I did finish that book. But so I listened to this on audio. If you did listen to my last video, you do know that I listened to them over and over. So I've listened to this multiple times. It's only a couple hours long, but really what it goes through is, you know, the resistance, that's what he calls it, the feeling you get that kind of pulls you away from doing the work that you need to do. So doing your work, what does that mean? What it means is that everybody knows what they need to do, whether it be, you know, your ultimate path in life. But I feel, in the way I interpreted the book, was that there's work you need to do in many fields. You know, you might have a career, and it might not even be the career you exactly want, but there's work you need to do to get to the end of whatever you've chosen that for. And then also you might be in a career that you shouldn't be in, and you need to do the work to get into following what you need to do. So he talks a lot about resistance. What is resistance? Resistance is the thing that holds you back, but it's not a physical thing. It's ethereal. It's you know, kind of, you know, it's an invisible force is a good way to explain it. So things like, you know, addiction, procrastination, addiction to distraction, addiction to sex, preoccupation with, you know, pornography, chronic masturbation, things like that would all be forms of resistance where, you know, you have this work that you need to do, but you always go towards the easier route. And the way he identifies how you know you should do your work is when this resistance comes up, like drinking, any of those types of addictions, and like social media, but I digress. Whenever that comes up and you have this strong pull to do that because it's easy, that's how you know that it is resistance, is that you're moving towards the easy. And then what it's pulling you away from is the work you need to do. I feel like in your health and fitness, you know, it's hard to, you know, work out and eat consistently. You always get these drives for, you know, shitty foods, skipping workouts. But he goes through, you know, a lot of different things. And what I really want to focus on is doing your work, especially because of kind of the assertion he makes about like depression and anxiety. And this is something I truly feel, and I've felt for a while. You know, I feel like in our culture, especially now, things are getting very soft. Things are also getting to a point where, you know, everything is like, you need to be like affirmed and validated for bad feelings. But I'm of the belief that we've evolved to have these feelings for a reason. Usually when people are depressed, there's a good fucking reason for it. You know, if you're, you know, not doing what you need to do, what you're supposed to do, and you deep down know it, and nobody else can know this for you, this is something you know, of course you're gonna feel like shit. It's not some, you know, you don't have this word, which a diagnosis is just a, you know, a word to, you know, describe a bunch of symptoms that happen in, you know, conjunction, and then they call it depression. But depression doesn't really describe the feeling. Same with anxiety. It's hard for you to put into words those feelings because, you know, they're just very primitive feelings, but they're meant to impel you to do something. And a lot of times what people will do is that they'll move towards the easy thing and they will succumb to the resistance instead of doing their work. In my own life, you know, I can talk about it in my career from, you know, I just switched jobs where I was brought on in my last job to be primarily a closer in sales, and I didn't really do a lot of prospecting or cold calls. I have to go back to doing, you know, cold calls. I mean, it's a step up in the job in terms of pay and the deal size, but I have to actually, you know, kind of get some of my own leads and get back on the phone and face that rejection. And, you know, every single thing before prospecting, you know, I will organize my desk, organize my CRM, I'll organize everything. I'll do all these things instead of just doing the work of getting on the phones. And every time I get on the phones and bust out, you know, a bunch of calls, I always feel better about myself. Same thing with working out. I think I have a mild case of plantar fasciitis on my left foot. You know, think I cracked my collarbone back in November, but I still, whenever I train or work out or go on a good run, I always feel, you know, good. And the other part I want to talk about with doing your work is the comparison. So, you know, there's always people doing better and there's always people doing worse. And, you know, different people will compare to different things. And I know in my own life, you know, it's sometimes, you know, especially when I speak to people close to me, like my mom, me and my mother are very close, you know, I always, you know, tell her that I need to do this, I need to do that. She's like, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. And that's because she's comparing to people that I grew up with. A lot of the people I grew up with, you know, when I see them again, you know, I'm making a lot more money than them. I'm in way better shape than them because, you know, I work out a lot. I spend a lot of time, you know, picking a specific career that, you know, had a big upside that allowed me to, you know, have the kind of lifestyle I want to live. I live in, you know, Brooklyn, New York. I live in a studio that I'm paying for by myself. You know, I kind of have, when I compare to a lot of my peers that I grew up with, you know, I'm doing better, but, you know, this isn't my pinnacle. And then also, I mean, a big one of doing the work and the reason this video is coming out is the book inspired me to start making videos again. You know, and not worry about, you know, the judgments, because it's not for anybody else. And one of the best quotes that he has in the book is from the Bhagavad Gita. It's, I don't know who Krishna said it to, but it was basically that you have the right, you are entitled to your labor, but not the fruits of your labor. So when I started this channel, and a lot of the discouragement that I got while doing the channel happens a lot because I was expecting a result, and when I'm not getting the result, it would leave me discouraged, or I would get certain comments or certain feedback that would leave me discouraged, or I'd compare myself to other channels and it would leave me discouraged. But what he's trying to say is the labor is the reward. You doing your work is the reward. And in the book, he goes through a lot of his trials and tribulations becoming a writer. It's obviously very old. That's why I think the music is so corny in terms of like him and where he comes from, because he talks about, you know, getting paid like $1.50 a day, which is like, I can't even fathom that, how that works and what things should cost, and paying for like a house that was like, I mean, or for like a living quarters, it's like $15 a month. Like that doesn't even compute with what you spend today. You spend thousands of dollars to live somewhere, like, or $1,000 to live somewhere nowadays. But I digress on that. But basically, he wrote a ton of books, screenplays, and all of this shit, and got paid nothing for years. And he became very successful. He did like King Kong or something like that. But it was the work. And he and this is the last point I'll go to. He talks about turning from an amateur to professional, and that's the other book that I listened to, Turning Pro, which is a chapter within The War of Art. And Turning Pro, it's all about you know, making that transition from amateur to professional. And that's what he talks about. He has two lives, his amateur life and then the change when he changed professional. He makes it very clear there was no fantastical, you know, moment, no fucking lightning strike and an angel came through his eye and came out his ass for him to be a professional. It was just a decision. It was a decision he made to become a professional, and he kind of describes the difference between the professional and the amateur and their daily, you know, thoughts. And one of them is that they do the work. And he also says, and this is what I'll leave you with, is, and if you want to listen to Turning Pro, it's his other book, but I would suggest listening to The War of Art first. But for anybody that has like big type of dreams, or, you know, wondering about their depression and anxiety too, because I feel like that is the remedy. Not talking to somebody, not taking a bunch of pills, not joining a religion. It's facing reality, facing your work, and doing what you know you have to do. Nobody's going to do the work for you. There's no guru that's going to do it for you. And you know, nobody can tell you what to do, and nobody can give you the permission. And that's a big one that I deal with, is the permission to do what you need to do. But what I'll leave you with is what he says is the hardest part. And I completely find this to be true. He uses the writing as the scenario, since he's a writer. He goes, every professional writer knows the hard part is not writing. The hard part is sitting down to write. So whatever your work is, whether it's making a video, whether it's, doing a workout, whether it's making a call, whether it's making an approach or something, whether it's, making a friend or joining an event and doing the work there, you have to do the work. You're the only one that knows the work you have to do. It's something that's deep, intrinsic to you. Listen to that voice. Don't succumb to the resistance. And, if you're feeling any type of depression or anxiety in that sense, doing the work and facing the reality, in my opinion, non-scientific, I'm not a fucking doctor, is the best remedy for that type of ailment. And it's not an ailment, it's your body, it's your evolutionarily designed response to get you to move towards what you need to do. So I'm gonna leave it on that. If you like the content, like, comment, subscribe. Dislike if you didn't like it. Any feedback will do. I'm gonna keep pumping these out because I'm gonna do my fucking work. But that's it for today. You know what it is. Peace.